Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast, where Ronnie Doss shares insights regarding life, leadership, and personal development. For more of our resources, visit ronniedoss.com. Now, let's join the podcast.
Hey there, it's Ronnie Doss. Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast. We're going to jump right in today, and I'm going to talk to you about your addiction to being right. Your addiction to being right. Now, everything that you see as you move throughout your day, on your job, with your team, with your family, everything that you watch, everything that you observe, you label. And so when you label something, you give form to the thing. And so when you label a circumstance that went on, that becomes your reality. You say, this is what this is. And then I am a person that's in relation to this thing that is. And so the rightness creates really your reality. And so when we see things that we feel the need to assess and critique and label, what we're doing is we are projecting onto that thing from a place that we stand, where we are. So the thing, in a sense, doesn't necessarily have any meaning. It even doesn't have value, because what one person might see as tragedy, another person sees as triumph. What one person sees as a setback, somebody else might see as a setup, and they say, well, I used that to get stronger or to get better or to improve. While somebody else might use it to cower down, to quit, to decide they can't do it. Either way, your degree of rightness is going to be the thing that locks you in to the level that you are at. Like, everybody loves to be right, and they don't even know it. They're so good at being right that you think it's who you are. So the moment you decide something about a coworker or a team member or a family member or even yourself, you ultimately believe you're right. Now, you don't sit around going, am I right about this? Because your brain naturally finds the solutions to the thing that you need to be right about. So if you need to be right and that's important, your brain's going to find all these different ways, pictures, scenarios, you'll find circumstances, you'll pull out details that are then the solution to your need to be right. And you live your whole life right, like you're right about your spouse, right about your kids, you're right about yourself, you're right about your family, you're right about the president, you're right about the culture, you're right about the society, you're right about your business, you're right about money. You've made up all this stuff, and you live out this rightness. And when people get tired and quit, it's because they're so right that this thing that they are experiencing shouldn't be the way that it is. And in fact, maybe you become very liberated when you move from this needing to be the way you think it's supposed to be into an openness where you are open to the way that it is, but you will use it to create what it is that you would like to have happen. And you say, well, Ronnie, I've done that before, and what I wanted to happen didn't happen. Well, you didn't use it long enough. You see, every circumstance provides this opportunity for you to step up or to step off. You can step up and look to create solution, or you can step off and cower down and decide that you just don't have what it takes. And either way, you will be right. If you continue to stay at something, you will find ways to do it. Maybe if you decided you wanted to go back to school and get an education, that you deserve an education, if you need to be right about that, you will find all the ways there are to get back to school and get that education. Now, if you think that getting the education is going to be too hard, the moment there's a circumstance that you can label as too hard and you be right about it, then you have permission to pull back and stop pursuing the education. If you believe that you can't write a book because you're not smart enough, well, the moment you decide to start writing, first word, first sentence, first paragraph, and then you get what's called writer's block, and you don't just flow all the way through the book like most people never do. The moment you stop, you put it away, and you go, oh, I guess I'm done. I'm only good enough at writing half a chapter. I'm only good enough to write one chapter or two chapters, or whatever that is. Like, you make it up, then you're right. And the more right you are, the more right you need to be, the more you're locked into something. And that's something you get locked into is probably not helping you to produce optimum results. Like, when you stop having to be right about all the crap that you've made up about you, about how you aren't valued, nobody pays attention to you, you're not smart enough, you don't have the resources, you don't know what to do, people wouldn't follow you, nobody respects you. Like, the moment you stop being right about that and just be open to what could be and then get to work, not being attached to anything, you then have the power to get started and then restart and start again and not be attached to some outward circumstance looking some certain way that then you need to be right about. You see, when you relinquish the rightness, You can focus on the result that you would love to create. And in that, you fall in love with the process that moves you toward that result. And on some days, it looks like you're making lots of progress. And on other days, it looks like you're not moving at all. But because you don't have to be right about either one, now you're free. You see, the prison you lock yourself into with this rightness, it having to be your way, that you had to be raised a different way. You had to come out of a family that had lots of money, that was really rich, that really encouraged you to get an education, showed you how to be a business owner, showed you how to be a great team player. They encouraged you to be a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer. That the moment you stop having to be right about you needed to come from a certain type of family to be able to do these things, the moment you let that rightness go, you're then in possibility. And when you stand in possibility and start working towards a possibility, you will find that the resources you need, regardless of your background, regardless of your education level, regardless of the money that you think you have or don't have, you will see that those resources start to manifest. They start to show themselves for you because you draw to you based on what you believe. This is faith. We hear faith people talking all the time. Oh, this is what I'm believing for. Well, let me see what it is that you believe for by the actions you're willing to take. If you won't take any actions, but you tell me that you believe for something, I call BS on that. It's not true. Like if you're not taking action towards something bigger, something better, something that's going to help to make a contribution to this planet versus just living a mediocre kind of a life and doing the same thing you've always been doing, being right about how it's probably not for you to try any harder, and you just go home and you sit in front of your big screen TV being indoctrinated by sports, indoctrinated by news, indoctrinated by media, saying this is life, this is the most exciting thing you're going to see today. BS on that. Like, no way, I'm not giving my time and my attention to some sports team that I'm going to sit there for a couple of hours and believe that they're better than me, get all excited for them to win when it has nothing to do with me. If they're not writing me a check, then I don't care if they win or not. Like, if you're not investing into my life, then why would I keep giving you my time? That's how I see this. And in the end, I think we realize that we waste a lot of life trying to find these mountaintop climactic moments where it makes us feel good because we're right about something. And a lot of times we're right about how we don't have what it takes, but somebody on television must. And I just think that it's sickening. I think people sit around and they let their life pass them by because they made up some story back when they were 5 years old or 10 years old when somebody said something to them that wasn't very nice or very encouraging. They got bullied a little bit and they're like, oh, I guess I am the loser in the class. I'll never be anything. And they decide that. And the more they have to be right about that, they go out looking for circumstances to prove how right they are, and they don't see how powerful they are. And the next thing you know, you're living a life of mediocrity. Now, you might sound like I'm being judgmental, but I'm not. I just work with people all the time. Like if I were a surgeon and I saw people continuing to behave a certain way that was causing them to have surgery all the time, and they kept coming in for another surgery, I would probably at some point say, hey, maybe you should stop doing that. And you know what I get to do? Work with people, help them shift and moving forward. I see that so much of what holds people back is simply their need to be right. And once you've decided that your family wasn't smart enough, that your family had bad relationships, that it was dysfunctional, and that nobody loved you and nobody cared about you, the more right you have to be about that story, which typically throws you into a victim mindset. The more right you are about that story, the less empowered you are. The more you feel like your life is out of control, that your life is being done to you. And now you're a victim going, I just don't know what to do. But you know what? If you said, this is what I'm going to do, and you started to take some action toward that, you would see that you do have what it takes. And when you hit a threshold and you're not quite sure what to do, if you will stay at it, keep knocking, keep pushing, keep pressing, you will see that the resources you need will show up in the right time. It's like the old saying, you don't need the whole staircase. You just need one step at a time. And if you're willing to take one step at a time, the rest of the staircase begins to reveal itself. I think it was Edison that said, you may not have the right tools, but if you'll work well with the tools you do have, better tools will provide themselves when they are necessary. And so it's like, work with what you have. Stop being right about how you can't do it because your mom and your dad didn't give you the resources when you were a kid, or your mom and your dad said money don't grow on trees, or your mom and dad said, yeah, you just need to get a job and save a little bit of money and then retire. Like, that's not what you want to do. You want to grow. You want to expand. You want to see what you're made of. There's a part of you that knows there's something great within you, but you've got to be willing to believe in that more than you believe in the limitations that other people might be trying to put on you. You know, people try to put limitations on you all the time because if they can beat you down, they can control you. if they can tell you that you're awful and that you're unworthy and that you don't have what it takes, then you stick around. And then they can manipulate you and control you and get you to do what they want to build their vision. And now you're getting used to build someone else's agenda versus building yourself, adding wisdom to you, adding some courage to your day-to-day, and stepping up and taking it on. It's a different way to live. And you deserve that as an individual. You really do. But the more right you are about how it doesn't look the way you thought it was supposed to look, the more locked in you are. You lock on to your little belief and you lock out all the other possibilities. And at the end of the day, you get to lay your head on the pillow and say, see, I'm right. It just doesn't work well. It doesn't work out. It never does for me. And that's how powerful you are. You're so powerful that what you need to be right about, you'll make happen. And so the question would be now, and I think this is what I could leave you with, what is it you've decided to be right about that's got you right where you are? Are you right about how there's not enough money out there, and not enough resources, not enough people that would support you or buy into what you're doing? Are you right about how you're not educated enough? Are you right about how you're not smart enough? You don't look good enough? Are you right about how you're not healthy enough? Like, what's your story that people are going to abandon you and leave you and ridicule you? Is that what your story is? And why did you make that one up? You see, because if you're going to make up a story, I mean, think about this. You are making up a story. This drama is running through your mind. It's the movie of your mind, and it causes you to feel all these things. And when you feel things, you start looking for pictures that align with that feeling so that you don't think you're crazy. You don't want to be double-minded. But if you're running a movie through your mind, the question would be, why not run a good movie to say, yes, I can do this. I'm going for it. I'm going to make this happen. Why wouldn't you do that? Right? If you're going to create the story anyway, the narrative in the movie, why wouldn't you create one that causes you to take some action? Is it because you're afraid you're going to fall on your face and screw up? So we all fall on our face and screw up. The people that have created the greatest companies, the greatest resources, made the biggest impact, right? These are people that fell on their face, but they got up again and kept going. You can do that. Fall on your face once or twice. Get up and laugh at it and then keep moving, right? Take the lesson. Leave the guilt. Keep moving. This is the type of stuff that makes us. These are the types of things that separate us from the boys and the girls, right? That separate us from the men and the women. Like, it's the thing. Like, it's the threshold. This is the thing that vets people, is a willingness to mess up and get back in the game. So maybe you made up a story from 40 years ago about how it went, where you grew up, what your family was like, how they didn't have any money, how nobody was smart, everybody was divorced. You made up that story. Well, guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that story anymore. You're the only one that cares about that story. And so stop running that story through your mind and start writing a new one. Get a blank sheet of paper and start writing on that paper, this is what I'm going to do, and list some things that you want to go for in your life, and then take some action. If you want to move, move. If you want a new job, apply. If you want to get some new relationships, go out and meet some people, shake some hands, go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, right? Go do something, Toastmasters, get out there. If you want to be a speaker, go out and speak. It's not that hard to speak, just go talk. Figure out what you're going to talk about and then go do it. You see, maybe people are just waiting because they're right about how they don't have what it takes, and they need to prove themselves right, so they just don't do anything. But that can't be you. If you're listening to this, that can't be you, because the world is waiting on you to do something. So stop ripping the world off of the gifts that you've been given just because you're a little bit afraid. Get some courage and step out and do something. If you will, your life will transform radically over time. But if not, it will look the same it's always looked, and then you'll get to lay your head on your pillow at night and you'll be right about how you can't do it. But you got to choose either way. And either way, there's going to be costs and benefits. If you lay your head on the pillow at night and you say, I can't do it, the benefit is you might feel good in the moment knowing that you're right, but it's going to cost you all the benefits. It's going to cost you all the goodies. It's going to cost you the camaraderie and the commitment. It's going to cost you the vision. It's going to cost you the resources because you're right about how you can't. And it's all made up, right? Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So just decide today what you're going to be right about, what you'd like to go for. In just a moment of crazy faith, write out some things that you'd love to go for. Put them on a list and then start working to check them off. If you do that, you'll make some progress toward what's better, and you deserve what's better if you're willing to do the work. This is Ronnie Doss. Listen, we got a new program coming out. It's called Pep Talk. It's our personal empowerment program. It's going to be a whole year of coaching by me. These are videos for a whole year, 52 weeks that are going to be available to you on our website, ronniedoss.com. It's going to be the best resource we've ever created. We are super excited about it. It's called Pep Talk. You're going to want to get that. Let me be in your world. Let me help you to move forward. Let me instill more courage into you. Let me speak into your life to help you. because this is what I'm passionate about. There have been times when I said, I don't know if I can do this or not, but you know what? I kept doing it. The doors kept opening, and we are here now. You're listening to this. It's game on. So let's do it. RonnieDoss.com. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.